Hi.
Hello.
It's so good to see you. How are you?
You too. I'm good. How are you?
Really good. Really good. I mean,
Good.
really surprised. How much of this have you done? How much of Zoom life have you done?
Um,
Did you do it last semester? You must have.
I did. Yeah. So like from March
So
to
it's
now.
familiar to you. See, this is you're my first moment. In other words, I remember I was on leave last semester,
Right.
so I haven't done it yet. And it's wild. I mean, I've been rehearsing with my sons for a month, but it's strange. Does it feel familiar to you? Is it like no big deal now to be going back to it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like normal now.
Good, good, good. Because I've been trying, I mean, do you remember how odd it felt at first, or was it just, I mean, it must have been part of so much more that was odd, like the pandemic, that maybe it wasn't a big deal to you. I've had all summer to worry about it. But was it less than everything else that was going on in those days?
Yeah. It was weird, but it definitely helped that we had those first couple months in
Yeah, I know.
class so we could we knew everyone.
Right.
It's weird now knowing we're not going to have the same connections and friendships
Right. That's
this
what
semester.
a lot of my friends who taught last semester said that for them, that's the hardest thing to imagine, is to start the class from scratch. Have you been okay otherwise? Has the ordinary life been good to you?
Yeah, it has. It was nice being back home
Yeah.
for like 5 months.
Right.
But I'm back in New York now. I'm off campus,
Hmm.
but I'm like staying busy. I've got internships and I'm graduating this semester, so I'm trying to not think
Cool.
about
Cool.
January.
Right. But are the
Yeah,
internships, are they in person or are they online?
they're online too.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And are either of them like promising? You know, in other words, are they like job promising?
Yeah, I was at Penn America,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, and now I'm at the National Book Foundation, which I both love those organizations,
Great. That's
and I'm excited.
fantastic. Fantastic. So, I mean, it's so wonderful to see you. Welcome, guys. Hi, Ryan. And this says Allison. Are you Allison? Yeah. Can you?
Yeah, that's my fiance's computer. Of course, my computer broke about 5 minutes ago before the class. So
I had a tech crisis 20 minutes ago that I thought would sink the whole thing. So tell us your actual name.
My name is Jack Elliott.
Hi,
Welcome.
Jack. Hi, Jack. Yeah, we've been in touch. Yeah. And Ryan. Hi. Hi. Good.
Let's see if this works.
So how many of you, I was talking to Lulu already. You could, why not just introduce yourselves to each other, or you can see the names, but go ahead.
I'm Ryan. Nice to
Yeah.
meet you guys.
Hi. Hi.
Hi, Ryan. Again, I'm Jack.
Good. Lulu, go ahead. You can say.
Lulu.
Hi, it's funny to be able to see. I mean, it's like wearing name tags, as a matter of fact. I was saying to Lulu, we had a class together really now like 16 months ago. But I was on leave last year, and so I've never taught Zoom. Are you guys, are Ryan and Jack, are you both familiar with, have you lived the Zoom life already? Yeah.
Not for me. Yeah, I was working as a freelance producer doing live events. So I wasn't in school last semester either. So when this all hit, all my work stopped. So I'm totally new to the Zoom world too. So
Right. All right. I mean, it is going to be, it's going to be a learning curve. And what I gradually realized, I've been using my sons as guinea pigs, who are much more tech savvy and very widely scattered across the country, and teaching me a lot. But I realized that I'll be helplessly dependent on anyone who's been through this before, just to follow what's going on. Stephen, welcome. You've been and disappeared. Oh, sorry, 1 second. So Ryan, how have you already done Zoom today or yesterday? I mean, in addition to last year?
Yes, so I had a Zoom class this morning.
Uh-huh.
I actually had 2 Zoom classes this morning.
And let me just ask, because I've been, of course, much more in touch with teachers than with students. And I knew as all my friends went on teaching last year onto Zoom, I knew that I'd be milking them for everything they'd learned because I'd missed it. Would you say that teachers are more fluent now than they were last spring? Do they know more about what they're doing, or is everyone still confused?
Okay, so the 2 teachers that I had today were both on leave last semester.
Oh, really? So am I your third?
So it was kind of chaotic this morning.
So so have you been actually helping old teachers across the street like a Boy Scout?
Trying to. They were Spanish classes, so obviously not my native language.
Right. And let me just ask, did I see you just now muting and unmuting yourself reflexively, that when you go to talk, you unmute yourself? Is that?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's impressive. I mean, in other words, that's a reflex that I would have thought you had to learn. I mean, is that correct? You don't just unmute yourself by speaking, right? It doesn't happen automatically. You actually have to click.
No, so, so you come into the meeting muted.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. It's the muting, the everyone mute, which I've been told during faculty meetings, we've been told you've got to mute because the noise is so unbearable. I believe that, but for reasons that are obvious for any teacher, that seems unimaginable. The whole game seems to depend on everybody being able to talk when they want. But have you experienced a completely unmuted meeting that was a disaster?
Yes.
Useful to know.
Every once in a while, you have a very quiet class, but most of my classes are discussion based.
Right.
And if too many people try to talk at once, you get a lot of feedback, and that's painful more than anything.
God help us. So do those teachers, once experienced, actually do the hand raising thing? Do they actually do it that way?
So every single professor I've had has tried to do that, but it does require you to kind of just look to the right of your screen, and not a lot of people do that instinctively.
Exactly. No. So far, I'm not doing that very well at all. Well, welcome, Lee. Do I pronounce it Lee? Hi.
Yes.
So you're okay. So you're okay right now. Lee is in Connecticut, and
Yes, I'm kind of hunkered down in my basement. There seems to be a momentary lull. My parents are out somewhere in town, and they said there's just trees everywhere. So
wow.
It's a little funky at the moment. But
Well,
the
welcome
Wi-Fi
for the time being. I'm impressed. Yeah. Got it. Did you get to take part of your other classes earlier today before things knocked out?
I experienced about 15 minutes of my first Spanish class before everything just stopped working. So
right. We have one classmate is in Houston tonight, in the middle of the.
Oh no.
And she says the power's out. She's okay, but it's all. I mean, I've been saying it's all wildly new to me, and I would imagine newish to you too. Was it difficult? And this is a general question, was it difficult? What does it feel like? Are any of you doing some classes live, or are you all off campus for all classes? Everybody's off campus for all classes. Right, got it. Is it, Lulu's actually graduating this semester. Is it weird and a bummer to be thinking that the whole semester will take place off campus? Was it, in other words, is it a downer to come back to school, or a different downer than usual? Okay, or is it okay? General question.
I've had, like, this has been the situation since March, so I've definitely had time to come to terms with it. I'm like over it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Got it. Got it. Are you thinking you might march in real life in June, in May, at the end of the year? Graduation march. You don't know.
Yeah. It's not like walking has never been something I've looked forward to.
Right.
I mean, especially since I'm graduating early, like I can imagine that would feel weird to like come back after being hopefully working for a couple months.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, there's one thing I wanted to mention, which is that I'd forgotten to put this in the final email today, and I promised not to send any more emails, so I decided I'd leave it for now. If you can find a corner of your screen and log on to Blackboard, just get yourself set up to get to Blackboard as quickly as you can for this course. That's where we'll be wrapping up the class. And so if you have easy access, if you can set up easy access to it now, that would be great. That would be great. Okay, good. I like this is extremely useful. I mean, that does make actual sense. Right. Okay. Let me see. Sorry, I just Stephen, could you make yourself visible? Could you bear to make yourself visible? We saw you for a second. Evidently not. Okay. Hi. Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Mara.
Good.
And Catherine, how do you go by Catherine? Or
yeah, or Cat, whichever.
okay, welcome. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here. I've been saying to people as they come on, please, if you can, set up some corner of your screen so that you can get to this course on Blackboard easily. It'll be about an hour away, but just so that it doesn't log on now, and maybe you either will re-log on or just get quickly there. So let me ask you, Harrison, are you wearing the green hoodie? Is that you with the green hoodie? Can you put your nameplate up? I don't even
how do I do that?
It just happened.
Okay.
I don't even actually know. Suddenly didn't remember. Okay. And Julianne and Stephen, could you make yourselves visible? Great. Hi. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Hi, Donna. We've been in touch. Right. Welcome. We only have a few minutes. I have no idea. I mean, there are many more people due to come, and it's all new to me. Let me just see. Okay, good. Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
How are you? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I've been confessing that having been on leave last year, I'm going to need much. Oh, here we are in feedback land. Maybe I will mute. Let's see. What should we do here? 1 second. Are you getting feedback when I talk? Is it okay? That having been away and having been on leave last semester, I may be newer to Zoom than most or all of you, and we'll all pay a terrible price for that. So, Hector, could you come on live? And Melissa too? Could we see your videos? And Stephen too.
Hi.
Hi, Hector. Hi. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to just admit as many as I can right now, and then, hi, how are you? So, Liam, are you in? Liam, okay, good. And let's see. Melissa, do you have can you put up your name tag? Hi. Does anyone know how to put up the name tag? This I just forget.
It's in the top right corner of your little.
Oh, that's right. You mean in the 3 dots, in the 3 dots?
Yes.
Okay, and so you put up, you just click on what? Rename or on?
Rename should be it.
Okay,
yeah.
got it. So Melissa, could you do that? Just click on the 3 dots in the upper right and give yourself your name in the video. Oh, you're also muted. 1 second. Here we go. Hi. Hi, the plot is thickening gradually. Welcome everyone. We'll talk in a second. Oh yeah, we're getting close. So Blake, welcome. Can you make yourself visible on video, please? It's a gorgeous plaid. And Valen too, if you can. Make yourselves visible on video. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Hi. So let me ask. I've been confessing freely, indeed desperately, that that this is my first time teaching on Zoom because I was on leave last semester. One of the things that's been hardest for me to imagine is I love going around the class for various reasons. For example, each person reading a sentence of Shakespeare and the next person reading the next sentence, right? But I take it there's no way, we are not all in the same order on our own screens, right? There's no way, in other words, without my calling on you, you do not know. Is that correct? Is that correct? That's a gargantuan and insoluble problem. In other words, I was going to ask you just to introduce yourselves one by one. But I guess, let's see. Yeah, what I'll just do is I'll go in the order on my screen, and I'll just ask you to introduce yourself by the name you like, which may be different from the name on the front of your screen, and just tell us where you're broadcasting from, if you don't mind. In other words, where you are right now. You needn't supply any specific address. Lulu, would you start? I'm just going to go by my screen.
Hi, I'm Lulu. I'm a senior at Lincoln Center. I'm an English major, and I'm currently a couple blocks from the Lincoln Center campus.
Well, okay. I'm Stuart, and I'm a professor mostly of theater at Lincoln Center, and I'm broadcasting from Great Neck, Long Island. Ryan, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a junior at Rose Hill, but right now I'm in Madison, Wisconsin.
Wow, cool. Jack, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Jack Elliott. I am a junior English major, and I am in Brooklyn, New York.
Lee.
Hi, I'm Lee. I'm a junior English and theater directing double major, and I'm in New Haven, Connecticut.
Wow, okay. Kat.
Hi, I'm Kat. I'm a sophomore, and I'm in New Jersey at the moment.
Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria. I'm a junior at Lincoln Center, double majoring in theology and English, and currently I'm in Boca Raton, Florida.
Interesting. Harrison.
Hi, I'm Harrison. I'm an English major sophomore, and I am broadcasting from New York City.
Julianne.
I'm Julianne. I'm a senior at Lincoln Center. I study English and Spanish, and I am in Long Beach, California.
This is kind of amazing to me, even now.
Yeah.
Donna, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Donna Oman, and I'm actually a readmitted undergrad. I believe I'm a senior. I went to Lincoln Center back in the 80s, and I'm now living in Kansas City.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which one? Which Kansas
City?
Yeah, cool.
Zoe,
go ahead. Zoe, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I am a senior and an English major. I'm also on the pre-education track, so also taking those education classes now. And I'm broadcasting from my dorm at Lincoln Center.
Cool. At Lincoln Center. Wow. All right.
That's great.
So are you taking some live classes too?
No, all of them are online, but I was running Fordham's orientation, so I had to be on campus.
Wow, that must have been something. Hector, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Hector. I'm a junior English and philosophy major, and I'm broadcasting from Mexico City.
Amazing.
Wow.
The farthest flung. Fantastic. Melissa. Oh, you need to unmute. Can you unmute? Lower left hand. Click on the lower left. Here, maybe I can do it. 1 second. Oh, I guess I can't. Not hearing you. Anybody got suggestions? She is actually.
There's a chance that her audio isn't joined. It would still be in the lower left corner though. Like right exactly where the microphone button is.
So that arrow next to the microphone. Can you do it? No? Okay, we'll come back. Just try with the arrow next to the microphone and go to audio settings or choose your microphone at the top.
She could always try to rejoin as well. Sometimes the system's just
okay.
crappy.
All right, thank you. So you could try to rejoin also, you heard. Sorry, this is not mine to relay. Liam, if you'll take it over.
Hi, I'm Liam. I'm a senior and I'm studying English and New Media and Digital Designs double major. And I'm in Worcester, Massachusetts right now.
Cool. Stephen?
Hi, I'm Stephen. I'm a senior. I'm an English major, and I'm in Brooklyn right now.
Great. Thank you. Sophia?
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm a double major in English and theater performance, and I'm in Glen Tay, Ontario.
Amazing. Again, okay. Yu Chao. Or Linus, do you go by Linus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Linus, and I'm majoring in English, and I'm actually in Beijing because of the virus. So.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Maya?
Hi, I'm Maya. I'm a junior at Lincoln Center, although I'm currently stationed in Staten Island.
I like stationed.
And I'm majoring in English with a minor in French.
Great, thank you. Victoria?
Hey, I'm Victoria. I'm majoring in English and International Studies, and I'm currently in New York City.
Great, thanks. What year, by the way? Sorry, just
Senior.
Chloe? Chloe?
Hi, I'm a junior. I'm a psych major, and I'm in New York City.
Great, thanks. Valen, I don't know how to pronounce you right, so forgive me.
My name is Valen. Pronounced Valen, and I am broadcasting live from New York City, about a mile away from the Fordham campus. I'm an English major. I'm a junior, and because I'm gone part-time, I'll be a junior for a long time.
Good, great, thanks. Blake?
Hi, I'm Blake. I'm a junior at Lincoln Center, and I'm majoring in journalism, and I'm reporting from New York City.
Okay, good. Linus, I have to admit, I mean, it's again, more people who've been on Zoom may get used to this, but what time is it in Beijing right now?
It's 6:00 a.m. like in the morning.
Wow.
So.
And have you been taking classes all day at their actual hours?
No, I had one like 10 p.m. last night. That's it.
Amazing. All right. Well, welcome and thanks in advance for teaching me stuff. All right. I mean, this is the more I went over what I have in mind to do today, the more I realized that how dependent I'm going to be on you. I will say now that if the sound is working well, you seem wildly sophisticated just to look at the screen about muting and unmuting, and I'm grateful for that too. If you want to, I do have chat up, and I do have the participants window up, so that if you are frustrated, if you're not getting through to me some way, you can feel free to raise your hand, feel free to pitch a question, and I'll try to divide my attention that way. Let me start with a real quick preview of what the evening is supposed to hold, if we get to it all. First, let me mention for the last time that I'm going to ask you to try to get onto to set up in a corner of your screen access to Blackboard in your browser, because at the end of the class we're going to go to Blackboard, to this course on Blackboard. So set that up if you can. I'm hoping to divide the class into 4 parts. Here's Melissa again. Okay. I'm hoping to divide the class, I don't mean the people. We're all gonna, this is an unusual session, as I said in the email. We're all gonna be here together for the duration. And the duration will be till about 7:15. I may, under the circumstances, beg for a few extra minutes, maybe 7:25, 7:30. But I don't want to. I feel like I owe you an exit as soon as I can get you to the exit. But the first part, I want to go back to the prologue to Henry V, the one that I talked about in the preliminary.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, good. Sorry, there's a storm where I'm at, so the computer is like messed up.
Got it. I get it. Good. Thank you. Now, for the moment, could you put yourself on mute? In lower left-hand corner, just click on the microphone. You see that?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with a look at the prologue. We'll then go to a tour. We'll start with doing more of the prologue. In the video, I did about half of it. We'll go on to take a tour of the syllabus with as much asking as the syllabus inspires in you. Then a preview of next week, and then this dread event, which I tagged in the emails, a quiz via Blackboard, but here it is. The quiz is a total technological tryout, let alone intellectual tryout. So let me assure you right now, you will get A's all round, no matter what happens. You're getting A's all round, and they will stick. All right. In other words, they will genuinely count. As I put it together, I could not imagine any other way. It's a way of trying out the technology. It's a way of your testing or tasting what this might work like and how it might work in the course. And once it's done, I'll see and I'll think again. Now, I'm not seeing, let me just see, hold it. One moment. I'm not seeing everyone anymore. Wait a second. Am I Lulu? Are you? Sorry, I feel like I've lost some people. All right. So, prologue first. And the question I want to float about the prologue is very much the one that I floated in the video. Shakespeare begins with this downer. He begins at the end of the 8 history plays that he's written and that have been a fantastic success. He begins by saying, we're not up to this. We can't do this, which oddly enough would suggest if we're not up to it now, then we were never up to it, that it shouldn't have worked at all. It shouldn't be a success. By the end, he's more optimistic, all right? And really the question I want to ask in the minutes that we spend on the prologue now is how does he get from the pessimism at the beginning to the optimism at the end? What changes? What pivots, all right? And so where I'd like to start is to show you the video from which you've already heard the audio. I mentioned in the video that you've already seen from the Google folder, I mentioned that it was a young Ian McKellen who was performing the prologue. He performed it in a one-man stage show that he put on called Acting Shakespeare, which was about the ecstasy and the challenges of acting Shakespeare, and it was about Shakespeare's own passion for theater and acting. All right, very bare stage, very small audience. It was eventually televised. And as part of it, almost inevitably, he performed this prologue, which of course is about the whole difficulty of putting on a show and putting on a convincing show. So let me pull it up and we'll start with that.
Figure, break a leg, see you later. And the actors go to prepare, and the audience arrives to prepare for the first performance of, let's say, Shakespeare's Life of King Henry V. Enter the chorus, played perhaps on this occasion by the author himself. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars. And at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment, but pardon, gentles all, the flat, unrazed spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon, gentles, since a crooked figure may attest in little place 1,000,000, and let us ciphers to this great account on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined 2 mighty monarchies, whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts, into 1,000 parts divide one man, and make imaginary puissance. Think when we talk of horses that you see them printing their proud hoofs in the receiving earth. For 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings, carry them here and there, jumping o'er time, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply, admit me, chorus to this history, who prologue-like your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
Okay, before we talk about the prologue, what he said about what Shakespeare wrote and what he is saying, sorry, let me just, wait a second, sorry. There's something I'm not getting, there's something I'm not, all right, good. Let me just float the question. Is there anything about theater and media that strikes you as you watch the young Ian McKellen do this? Is there anything about that, about watching him? I assume that many of you know him now, you know him from other things. Anything about this? All right, I'm going to wait on that. There's something, it may come back later on. Let me then float the question that I floated at the beginning, which is, what is, now talking about what Shakespeare's written, what is the chorus's problem at the beginning? What is it that makes him think we're not up to it? And what makes him change his mind? By the end, you can see it even in the tone and the feel of McKellen's performance. What makes him, what's he worried about, and what makes him change his mind? Go ahead, Julianne.
He's worried about being able to put such a grand battle and history into the confines of a playhouse and like the 2-hour limit of a play.
Right.
And, what changes his mind is that he can rely on the imagination of the audience.
That's
and
right.
their kindness.
That's right. He can, and their kindness and their willingness to join in, their willingness to compensate for anything that fails on stage. In a weird way, it's an almost brutal reality check. All right. I mean, you said it exactly right. That we ourselves alone, we are not up to this. We are flat, unraised spirits. We just can't do, this is the greatest story you've ever heard, the greatest story ever told. In some ways, we can't do that. But if you'll pretend with us, we can. Let's look, hold it, sorry. 1 second. Let's look at the speech. Let's look at the speech and see what he's got going on. All right. Let me start it. You can all see the speech, right? You all got the text? All right. Let's start where he, well, let me just see where, as I said in the video, the surrender, the hopelessness, but pardon, gentles all, the flat, unraised spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. The apology for the actors seems so humble. It is, on the one hand, that they're not able to resurrect the real heroes who fought this battle. And on the other hand, it sounds like they're dead themselves. They're like dead ghosts that cannot come alive again. But then let's go to the part where he starts to pivot. He says, on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined two mighty monarchies, whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. What's the key word there? What's he asking for? What's he asking you to do? Go ahead, Valen, go ahead.
Well, he's asking you to visualize something.
That's good. That's exactly right. So what is his word for the visualizing, just to pin him down? What's his word for the visualizing?
Suppose.
Exactly. All right. That's right. You've got to basically play a game of pretend. Suppose that within the girdles of these walls, and then he's saying, picture two mighty monarchies whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. What's he asking you to see? What's the totality of what he's asking you to see? I can't see. Oh, here, one second. Let me go ahead. Yeah, Sophia, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's talking about the two armies, France and England, and geographically, there's literally an ocean between them, like at this time when you're watching it, but he wants you to see them together in the space.
That's right. It's almost, it's actually almost unimaginable, except maybe at the opening of Game of Thrones, where you see that landscape sort of assembling like a video game, right? You see the countries and the ocean. Very few people would have seen, and if there were no airplanes, very few people would have seen that kind of overview. And yet he's asking you to imagine that. Good. To pick up on Valen's word, he's asking for more visualization. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide one man and make imaginary puissance. What is he asking for here? What kind of visualization? It's a particular kind of joke, a particular kind of ask. What is it? Sorry, I can't see you all. Now I'm going to have to learn how to do this. But anyone speak up who's got this one. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide one man. What could that possibly mean? And make imaginary puissance. Puissance is power, military power. How do you make military power? By looking at the stage and dividing one man into 1,000 parts. Let me ask it this way. What's the problem with staging a battle? What's the personnel problem in a theater with staging a battle?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Hector, go ahead.
That you don't have enough people for a whole army?
You don't have enough people. We actually know that there were about 19 members in the cast of any Shakespeare play. So you don't have enough people, right? Therefore, so you have about 6 because you've got the star players who are playing the big roles. Therefore, how do you do it? Instead of, you've got 6 people on each side of a battle, what's the chorus asking you to do? What's the chorus asking you to do? Anybody?
Pretend that there are more people.
Exactly. To look at one guy, how many more? Basically, do the arithmetic.
If there's 19 people, to see 19,000.
Exactly. If there's 19 people, see 19,000. That's exactly it. Multiply each one by 1,000. All right. Okay, think when we talk of horses that you see them printing their proud hoofs in the receiving earth. This is another problem with staging battles. All battles at this time took place on horseback. What's the problem with bringing horses on a stage? Anybody speak.
I think the better question is, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the better question is what isn't a problem with bringing horses on a stage?
Right. Yes, and it may be the politer question, right? They may get out of control. They may get out of control in any form. We can't bring them on stage. So we need you to imagine them. And think about this. Think when we talk of horses, think of the way he's asking it. When we talk of horses, that you see them printing their proud hooves in the receiving earth. It's not just that you're asked to imagine horses. You're asked to imagine them in close-up with their hooves digging into the receiving earth. That's another thing, of course, you don't have on a stage. You don't have dirt, right? So he's bringing the dirt in, and he's also showing off a little. He's also saying, look, I can make you see this by the way it sounds, printing their proud hooves in the receiving earth. All those are pushes. It's onomatopoetic. It's the sound imitating the thing it's describing. And so sounds can go through your ears and help you see them too. For 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings. What else is a problem? In other words, your thoughts can help us with something else. What do you think deck our kings means? What's he asking for there? 'Tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings. What do you think deck? We still have the phrase decked out. Someone gets decked out. What do you think?
He's talking about the clothing, imagining
exactly.
that.
That's exactly right.
I assume the actors at the time would not have had the type of clothing that royalty would wear, so we have to imagine.
Exactly. They didn't have real royal clothing. They had imitation royal clothing. Exactly right. And so you've got to pretend that this is better stuff than it looks like. Exactly. Carry them here and there. That's a lovely thing. You've also got to supply transportation. We've got this tiny stage, but you've imagined these two kingdoms. You've got to get people back and forth across the English Channel, jumping over times. That's the other thing. We don't have the space for this. We don't have the time for it. Turning the accomplishments of many years into an hourglass. He's going to shrink. He's going to shrink 15 years into 2 hours. You've got to help with that too. McKellen does an amazing thing with that line. He says, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass, as if it is our mirror, as if we create it. He emphasizes the hour as if it's the plural possessive. It's yours, it's ours. For the which supply, I'll give you the hourglass, I'll give you all of this. Let me be your commentator, who prologue-like begged you for your patience, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play. And it's the only play in which Shakespeare actually brings on a chorus who will come on at the beginning of every act of the play and talk to us again in order to sort of rev us up as his collaborators in imagining this narrative, imagining this story. Okay. The lines we've skipped, the grim lines at the beginning, I did in the video. The more joyful lines or hopeful lines, I wouldn't call them joyful, they're still tentative. At the end here, we've already done. It's the lines in the middle where he makes the pivot. And that's where I want to wrap up a reading of this, of the prologue. He says in the middle of it, it's here, when he's at his most despairing, he says, "Oh, pardon, since a crooked figure may attest in little place 1,000,000, and let us, ciphers to this great account, on your imaginary forces work." That's the pivot. By the end of it, he's saying, let us work on you. The vocabulary in these lines is so complicated or so old. It's actually that audience would have gotten it. It's harder for us to get. That sometimes these lines are cut, but they're clearly almost sacred to Shakespeare. They are the pivot point. And he's playing a numbers game here. Ciphers is still used, very often now it's used to mean code, all right? But it also means nothings. A cipher is a null set, an empty set, a nothing. And all through the speech, the chorus has been saying, all through the speech so far, he's been saying, we are nothing. all right? Here he's picking up on that, and he's already picked up on it a little bit, because he says, in ways that are very hard for us to follow, since a crooked figure may attest in little place a million, all right? Crooked figure is describing something, we wouldn't use it this way now. Crooked meant then not just jagged, but also curved. And he's really talking about a zero. He's saying a zero may attest in little place a million. And this is where his hope begins. So tell me, how can you use a zero to create a million, just in number writing? How do you do it? What's Shakespeare picturing? What's the first thing, in effect, that he's asking his audience to picture?
Professor Sherman?
Yeah.
Lulu's stuck in the waiting room.
Oh, thank you. All right, God, wait a second. Yes, thank you. All right, thank you. Oh, I saw that people dropped out. Forgive me. Yeah, I knew that when I was sharing. All right, thank you. Welcome back. The recording, okay, this is learning curve too. I've been intent on not sharing a whole desktop because I like to focus on the text, but I now know that when I don't share the whole desktop, I lose track of who's waiting, all right? So forgive me, I'll learn that.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
I think it was the video and I'm too far away from my router, so.
Okay, okay. Now let me try to set this up. 1 second, I gotta do this, wait a second. Yeah, so we're in the middle of the speech. Let me just ask the obvious question. How do you get I don't know, just turn off the spotlight, 1 second. How do you use a zero? Let me try it. Oh, it's not going to work the way I wanted to, but how do you use a zero in little place to create the number a million? Anybody, what should I do? What else should I write? There's a zero. Show me how to make a million out of it. Anybody?
Oh, you have to have a 1 and then 5 more zeros.
Good, let's start with the zeros. His point is, we are zeros and there's not enough of us. We're zeros and there's not enough of us. So here goes another zero. Let me just see, and here goes another, can you see it? 1 second, 1 second. Yikes. This went much better in rehearsal. And there, yeah, wait a second, it's not working. Let me try it again. You know, so oh gosh, this is the first time it hasn't worked. But you've already described it. His point is, we are zeros. There's a lot of us, okay? His ultimate point, just picture the number a million. We are zeros, you're the one. Or to put it another way, without you, we are nothing. Without you, we are nothing. All right, it's an interesting move. It's very humble. It's very fearful, okay? And in some ways, it's very accurate. And of course, it's very flattering. We need you. You are all important. Without you, we cannot do this. In a way, at the end of these 8 hit Shakespeare plays, what starts out as despair ends up being both an invitation and a thank you note. He's thanking them for this. He's thanking them for the help they've given and the help they need to give again if he's to make history come alive in a way that shouldn't be possible at all on this stage. By messing this up, I just wish I could make it disappear right now because it's so ungainly. But let's see. No, I can't. I'm depriving you of the most delicious trick. Just look at the one decent zero that you can see there. Because in a way, Shakespeare has been prepping this trick from the very beginning. Look at the first letter of the speech. O for a muse of fire. And as I said in the video, O means, oh, God, I wish I had this. So O is absolutely helpless there. And then the O's keep on coming up. "Oh, pardon," he's begged. But in the middle, there's this interesting move where he says, within this wooden O. And there's the final point of the trick. The point of the speech is that nothing can be made into something if the audience fills the seats and fills the theater with its imagination. He's punning on the shape of the real theaters of the time, of the new theater that he's going to. He's saying, in effect, let me try the next share. Welcome back. I can suddenly see you all. I really have learned a new trick. I mean, I've learned how to do this better, but we won't be able to collect on it today. Wait a second, yeah. So have a look at this. This is the Globe Theater. This is the modern rebuilt version of the theater that opened with Henry V. It's in almost the exact same place on the shore of London's river, on London's river. And you can see it was built like an O. There are reasons for that that we'll get to much later on. It's open air. You looked up, the actors looked up, the audience looked up, they would see the sky. And so it literally was a wooden O. It burned down 13 years later because there was nothing fireproof about it. That's what the chorus is talking about when he talks to the audience. This is the way the seats look to the chorus when he's giving his speech. This is the way this is the way the show looks from the stage. You can see that, right? There's basically 3 balconies, and there's this main floor in the center where audience stands, the groundlings, the people who pay the smallest price, a penny, and then stand on the floor. The chorus would stand at the edge of the stage and talk to them. This is Shakespeare's pun. He's been working in theater for almost 10 years. And he is saying the theater is a big zero. He loves this idea throughout his playwriting, that what playwrights and actors do is they take a nothing and they convert it into something, but they cannot convert it without the help of witnesses, of an audience. I'll just mention that when this newly rebuilt Globe Theater reopened decades ago, for obvious reasons, they opened with Henry V. They opened with a prologue coming out and giving this same speech. Because it was the way the first had been inaugurated, and it's sort of Shakespeare's whole theory of theater, his whole idea of how it works. Okay. So let me ask, any follow-up to that? Anything strike you, puzzle you, anything you want to go further on with it? Yes, go ahead, Valen.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a lot for a relatively small amount of text. And also the audience would have gone by pretty fast. You mentioned that they would have picked up on things like crooked figure, but would this deeper meaning have reached them, or is that something that is almost subliminal?
It's a great question, and it's going to come up again and again. You're talking about something which is, I just think, crucial to all theater, but especially crucial to Shakespeare. Does anyone have any notion that we're talking about, weirdly enough, how much there is, or Valen's question asked, how much there may be? Is it really in there at all? Would the audience have gotten it? The other side of the question is often, did Shakespeare really put it there, or is this just an English professor going crazy, right? And there's always that possibility. I mean, I want to tag that possibility. In other words, the possibility of overpassion and overkill. I've got any takers on this? I mean, we're going to ask. It's going to come up over and over again. I have 2 answers. One about the audience, one about the author. About the audience, theater is always fast. It has to last 2 or 3 hours unless it's doing something more unusual or avant-garde. Like music, I think, when you love a single, let's say you love a particular track that lasts 3 minutes, it's because it's so stuffed with stuff that the more you listen to it, the more you'll catch what's going on in it. You'll think, oh my God, I really love this, or I really love that. I didn't notice that before. My suggestion, it's only a suggestion, I think about this all the time, is that even before you notice it, it's doing something to you. In other words, it was working on you and then you notice it. So to pick up on what Velen suggests, I think some things are subliminal. The audience will get them without having time to think about them. It will just happen to the audience. One easy example of that would be when the chorus went up, when the chorus said this wooden O, he would have pointed to the ceiling of the theater. He would have pointed that out. It would have been a visual cue to see this. The chorus probably said, oh, you know, with his mouth shaped that way. In other words, there were various ways to put it all together. I think the audience would have sensed, and then of course the speech is also explicit about it. We are nothing. You are indispensable. They would have pictured the number 1 million also. So there's enough sensory cues that aren't on the page, but might have been in the theater to put it across. My answer to about Shakespeare putting this stuff in has taken a long time, and in fact, it really clicked over this leave year, so you're the first I've ever tried it out on. Forgive me for it. Forgive me for this experiment. It's this. Shakespeare wrote 38 plays. He wrote them in a total of about 22 years. That is to say, he wrote plays faster than almost any playwright has ever written them before or since, okay? How did he have time to make them so good? How did he have time to put all this stuff in them? The answer that occurs to me is to think of your favorite musician or your favorite athlete. These people are able to make, especially think of an improvising musician and athletes who are always improvising. These people have so much talent and so much training and so much experience that they can make micro decisions that work perfectly. How to bend this note, how to flip, how to toss this ball. Micro decisions, they cannot afford the time to think of them. They're not chess players. Chess players take forever. But athletes and musicians cannot afford the time to think. They just have the time to do, but their bodies are perfect machines for the doing. So those are my two theories. The audience gets much more than it thinks about, just as you do when you're watching or listening to something that you worship. The creators have the experience to produce much more than they can think about. Let's just test that as we go. I think it's a great question, and I really appreciate your asking it, okay? Thanks a lot. Now, let me just see. Sorry, I have to check the time. I owe you to check the time. Okay. I want to show you one last video in which Kenneth Branagh, making a new film of Henry V, decides to play this another way. Let me just this is the chorus. This is the chorus at the beginning of that film. Tell me what's different about the way this guy handles it. All right, 1 second. Wow, wait a second, sorry, it's gone. I apologize. I'm gonna share a very cluttered desktop and then just put this on the top of 1 second. This will be a disgrace, but let me do it. All right, here goes. Can you all see that? Can you? Sorry, let me ask, could you all see what I was showing there or not?
Yes.
Did it work?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, just forgive me. Thanks for the thumbs up. Deeply undeserved, I assure you. But 1 second. Now I can share it really. I don't know what happened.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. A kingdom for a stage.
Let me ask, what did he just do, and what does that facial expression say? Anybody?
He said that would ascend and started descending with the match.
Excellent.
With the muse of fire.
That's right. That's right. Excellent. And then what did he do after he started descending with the match? Thank you, Hector. Anybody else? What did he do next?
He turned on the lights.
He turned on the lights. He turned on the kind of lights that you use in movie technology, some gargantuan amperage. Lee, did you want to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that I feel like it's almost implying that while they might not even be able to get to the scale that's in the text, like now we actually have the tools to do something more.
That's exactly right. That's what his expression says. His expression says Shakespeare had only fire. Shakespeare didn't even have matches, okay? But Shakespeare had only fire. We have this. We have another kind of fire. We have electric light. We have all this technology. It's a really interesting reality check. We can show oceans. We can show battles. We can show 1,000 men. We have all that, right? That's not quite the same as we can show the real Henry V. We still need imagination. It's still a game of pretend, but Brana is moving the game along. It was really an extraordinary moment to have him turn on the electricity and say, this is different. One way to think about it is, again, Shakespeare wouldn't know these words, and this goes back to Valen's point, Shakespeare may not know what he's asking for, but we could easily say that what Shakespeare is describing is a documentary. Some medium that would capture the real thing while it was really happening. And weirdly enough, Shakespeare is imagining that you could achieve that effect only if you had some kind of goddess working through the power of light. Now, I've always resisted this. I once had a dream long ago in which I dreamt that Shakespeare had invented television. And in fact, Valen you could all dismiss me as absolutely out of my mind. I dismissed myself that way when I woke up. I'm not saying he prophesied it, all right? I'm saying that his words are reaching towards something that turned out to do. He wants something for his own reasons, but he also doesn't want it because he wants the audience to do what it needs to do. Okay. Anything else? Then let's take a tour of the syllabus. Let's take a tour of the syllabus. Here goes. Melissa asked, by the way, the audio is horrible. Yes, okay, so I'm gonna, let me just say to everyone, if you have to, I've taken this too much for granted. If things are not working, if the audio is horrible, you could either turn it down and just watch, whatever you gather from that, or let me know, and the videos of all of these classes will be stored in the Google folder immediately after class. You can catch up that way if technology goes wrong. If it does, please let me know that it has, so I know that what happened to you. But we'll just take it from there. Especially this week, I understand that. Again, I'm asking for more patience than you're requiring of me. Let's go to the syllabus. And if you have your printed copies, take it out. You may want to follow with it. One moment. There we go. All right, before we go to it, let me just say a few things about, wait a second, yeah. Thank you. Let me just say a few things about the course overall. Just the simplest and the quickest. It's not why take this course, because that's wildly and entirely up to you. It's why I've been drawn to this course really all my life. It's the first thing I ever taught very long ago. And I've loved coming back to it again and again. There are 3 layers. I talked about them a little bit in the video. One is that it's an amazing story. The 8 plays tell a single story of, you know, blood, politics, passion, parents, children, family. It's an astonishing story. It's overwhelming in itself. And it was written for the original audience in order, in effect, to show them themselves through their history. As I've said, I think in the video, it's as though someone wrote a drama that carried us from the Revolutionary War through the Civil War, the wars that shaped us and the history that shapes what we are today. There's no day where you feel it more. That's why Hamilton from the Obama era is so absolutely powerful. And that's why the Civil Wars as a historical act of memory now is so overwhelmingly powerful right now. Okay, Shakespeare's doing that too. He's showing the audience a mirror of itself, but he's also unintentionally, not that he started out to do this, the audience learns that they're watching Shakespeare become Shakespeare. As I said in the video, he starts out as a complete unknown. No one's ever heard of him, all right? And he tries to make his mark by putting on a play that could become the first of a series. And that play is such an enormous hit that he does a second, and then a third, and a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth, and a seventh, and an eighth. And they become bigger and bigger successes. And he becomes more and more famous to the point where with the Globe and Henry, he is the supreme playwright of the moment, all right? So the audience watched him grow into himself. Again, if you have a favorite artist or athlete, you've had this experience from album to album, from season to season. They got to watch the person, the artist, learn his art. But of course, for someone like Shakespeare, it doesn't mean just learning the art that other people know. It means taking it places that no one else has ever been. And so for us, or this, what I love about this is play by play, you watch him learn what he can do next, find out what he can do next. We'll see him borrowing from himself, topping himself, borrowing from other playwrights, etc. It's like an inside biography. We know very little about Shakespeare's life. But when you read these plays in the original order in which he wrote them, you will know quite a lot about his life. So there's that. Okay, and then finally, irresistible for me. And again, you have to decide whether it's resistible for you, especially given all the techno ineptitude I've been displaying today. The other thing is in an election year, to read the story of these power struggles. As I think I mentioned in the preliminary video, every king, each play is named for a king. Every king is desperately trying to hang on to his crown in the face of someone who wants to take it away and who claims to have a legitimate claim to take it away. Okay, so let's go to this. Let's go to the syllabus now. Please speak up, unmute and speak up if you have any questions. I'm going to try to annotate. Let me just ask: can you see it? Can you see a cursor here? Yes, okay, great, all right. So you have a copy of this. I won't go over every bit of it in detail, Office hours will be officially on Tuesday in a refrain that I'm going to come back to again and again. Don't wait for Tuesdays. Get in touch with me anytime. If you have a solution to an ineptitude that I've performed, if I'm missing something that you think I need to know, this is on the technological side. If you have questions, want help, questions about the plays, anything, just get in touch. This is the semester of availability. There's just no other way to do it without our bodies present to each other. Assigned readings, listening and viewing. Do them, savor them, think them through. There will be quizzes, fairly frequent and frequently fair, designed to deepen reading, enhance absorption, hone thought, and fuel discussion. All right, I've mentioned these before, and I've said improbably that they benefit everyone. All right, I'm going to try to make that more probable now. Here's I'm most intimate, of course, with the way they benefit me. They benefit me because they cause you to read attentively, by which I don't mean frantically or fearfully. What I mean by attentively, I am not expecting you to remember everything. I am not expecting you to understand everything. What I'm asking you to do as you read is to mark anything that puzzles you, anything you want to follow up on. What the hell is this person saying? What the hell is going on here? Who is this person? All right? And then that's why I've asked you to have paperback copies. I want you to mark them up with that stuff, fold over pages, etc. Bring your questions to class. We start with those questions. If there's a quiz that day, I'll say there's a quiz that day. And I'll throw the floor open to questions. The questions can go a very long time. I'm wide open to them because, in a way, they help me know where to focus when I teach the class. And in fact, they produce, in my experience, the greatest discussions I've ever been to, because the questions weave together and we end up covering more of the play than I could ever cover if I was only thinking of it on my own. That's the use for me. The use for you is that the quizzes, however terrifying in prospect, tend to work out pretty well. You can ask any question and it will get answered in advance. If it's on the quiz, I will say it's on the quiz and then answer it, and you will be a hero to every classmate. This also means never fear asking any question out of the suspicion that it's a stupid question. There are none. Often someone asks a question tentatively and embarrassed, and that turns out to give everyone points. My experience over 20 years of doing this is that the quizzes lift virtually everyone's grades. I'm going to get to the writing in a second. I'm a tough writer of grading, all right? But the quiz lifts all boats. It's impossible to convince you of this now. In ordinary classes, I'm able to convince people of it within the first couple of weeks. The technology surrounding quizzes is so mysterious that if they can't work for me and you this time, I'll think of another way to do them. But for the moment, keep them in mind, and as you read and mark and fold, that's what I'm asking you to do. Prep your questions, okay? Any questions about this? Just unmute and speak, okay? Anything?
I have a quick question.
Good, Lulu, go ahead.
So we're all online. Are the quizzes open note?
No, we're going to try one out today. That I will change it if that's, you're going to try, we're going to end the class with a timed quiz. Let me remind everyone, if you didn't hear it the first time, you've got a guaranteed A on this, because basically it's designed to give you a sample of the quizzes and me a sample of the technology. If this works, Lulu, who suffered these quizzes before, it'll work like our ordinary quizzes, all right? That is to say, you'll just be inside the quiz. If it really doesn't work, and I welcome your roaring feedback at any time, all right? I will rethink this, okay? It's a part of my teaching that's hard for me to let go of. But if it's important and valuable to let go of it, I will, okay? So we'll talk about that as we go. Any other questions about it? Any other questions? Anybody? Okay, let's go on to the writing. The writing. I'm going to ask you for an informal but thought-packed contribution around 250 to 300 words every other week or so on Blackboard. In this first week, I'm going to give you an option. I'm going to give you the option of sending me a past paper, one that you really like, one that represents your writing at its best, to get my early feedback. All right. I'm going to squeeze in my quick sort of full disclosure now. As I've said, I'm a tough reader of writing. I'm a tough grader of writing because it is an English course, and I think of every English course as a writing course, all right? And I want to help you take your writing further. It means, so on the dark side, the grades can be scary. The first grade can often work as a kind of wake-up call. That is to say, you may have thought that you knew this way, that you knew how to be clear. Clarity is my greatest emphasis, is the thing I'm most preoccupied with. But you could write much more clearly, and I need to show you how, something like that. The disadvantage is that you may take a hit or two this way. What might be the upside, but you have to decide this for yourself, is that I am minutely attentive. I'm a very, very close reader, and especially this semester, I'm willing to spend a lot of time with you on your writing. What you get from me is a highly annotated PDF of your paper, lots of hand markings. You get recorded comments in which I talk to you about the paper. And then we always have a conference in which we follow up. We converse about what you did, my feedback, and we try to take it further in the direction you want to go, all right? And all of those things, of course, get into a file of yours, your own file, so that you can track what I've suggested, and you can, try to build on where you want to go and where I've suggested that you might go. I don't know whether that sounds like an upside. It means that I will pay attention and take the writing very seriously. There is one full disclosure fact I need to say. Because the writing is important, the course is balanced somewhere around 50% of knowledge and understanding, that is to say the quizzes and the final, and just general grasp of the Shakespeare part of this, and about 50% for the quality, the strength of your own writing. You have to write very clearly, okay, in order to get a solid A. If life without a solid A is unimaginable, okay, as it is for some students, depending on, some people have told me that if they're going into careers in finance or law, they can't afford to do without a solid A, then you may want to shop around, all right? I just want to be honest about that. The solid A may be a rarer bird in my classes than in others. It just has to do with my weirdly, sort of lunatically messianic conviction that I can take your writing further than it's gone, and that I'd like to. This always deeply interests me. You'll see in a second, we'll go to this. Let's go to the next item. So, a reason to hand in a past paper first. I'm not going to regrade it. I'm just going to mark it up my style and talk with you about it. And in the talk with you, we would then just think about where you want to go next. What about writing? I'd like you to work on what about writing you'd like to work on. That's the advantage of it. I spell out the assignment later in the syllabus, okay? Next one, the first piece of writing for the course will be something that you write to read out loud to your classmates, all right? And that's my emphasis. I think that writing for listeners will, if you write with listeners in mind, you will write more clearly than if you write for readers, because readers have the time to rearrange your sentences if they're not clear. Listeners are literally hanging on your every word. If you write for them, you're writing sentences that will be clear also for readers. And basically, every week I'm going to try to give some writing tips that aim for that kind of clarity, that aim for the clarity that will help a listener. all right? That'll be part of the bundle somehow. It may be a recording, an asynchronous thing. It may happen in class meetings. Any questions so far? Okay, final paper, slightly longer. Due early because because there's not that much writing in the course, and I'd like you to get this one out of the way before you go down for the final siege after Thanksgiving, and then quizzes and final exam. Attendance, you've been exemplary today, so thank you. Our class convenes at a precarious hour when the winding down of the working day would seem to warrant well-earned ingestion and restfulness rather than a renewal of rigor. Nonetheless, arrive in our Zoom room nourished and arrive on time, with cell phones silenced and brain burgeoning. I'll open the Zoom room at 5:45 so that you can settle in and test your equipment and interconnection before we begin. Substantial and/or serial latenesses will translate into an equivalent number of absences. If you're reckoned absent more than 3 times, you will not be permitted to complete the course. There's only really 15 sessions, so 3 is a lot to miss. Conferences, I've already said, schedule them. I've already asked you, when you respond to me, respond with that odd little tag, SHP20LC. That will help me know that it's about the class, and I'll be able to pick it up. I will, again, I'm pledging availability. I will try to be as available as I possibly can. I mean this about online life. On page 2, these guidelines will serve as base camp for our ascent along an action-packed and perhaps error-prone internet learning curve. Week by week, I'll be trying for maximal improvement at minimal inconvenience to you. I'll be eager to hear and absorb your and your other teachers' best ideas and techniques. Be utterly unhesitant about relaying them to me via email, private Zoom talk, or any other medium that suits. Here I am, Shakespeare's chorus. I actually did have a nightmare where I looked up at the first class at Lincoln Center and all of you had disappeared. The lights went out and all of you had disappeared. And this was a Zoom nightmare. Teachers have been having them all summer, all right? I have suffered some of that today. You've suffered it too. Please just let me know. The main news, I'm not going to read all this. You may have read it already. The main news about the class design is this. I'd like us all to meet for 50 minutes, 50, starting at 6 p.m. every Thursday. Then I'm going to divide you into 2 groups, York and Lancaster, about 11 or 12 students each, depending on who decides to linger. And I will meet with each of those groups in turn, one beginning at around 7 and one beginning at around 7:50. In other words, each of you will have 2 sessions of class and 1 session free. The first one, all of us, the second 2, half each. Total of about 100 minutes per session. I know that you can't survive, 150 minutes or 165 minutes. Not sure I can either. Colleagues have told me that I won't, in which case we'll regroup. But that's the idea. And I will scramble the other 2. If you prefer to meet right after, okay, our group session, our collective session, you will get that every other week. If you prefer to have a 50-minute break and meet later, you'll get that every other week. Any question about that procedure? Any question about that procedure?
When will we know our groups?
This week, like by Monday, all right? Is that okay?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Here's the syllabus. I'm just gonna, we don't need to walk through all of it. It's pretty self-explanatory. But this basic weekly assignment is the real thing. It's actually, by comparison to a novel count, this is a low page count, word count course, or novel course. It's a low one, but that means that there's the opportunity to focus, all right? We're doing a play every week or 2 weeks. Some plays get longer. The whole idea is to read the assigned play as closely as you can, and to listen to as much of it as you want to. Every week, I'll be supplying a recording of the entire play, especially if Shakespeare's new to you, or these plays are new to you. But even if he's not, to have actors act it in your head is, to me, the ideal way of soaking it in. Different from a movie, because a movie does all the staging for you. Instead, the actors in an audio make sense of the lines, all right? And allow the lines to sink in. You can read, it depends on what you like. You can read while you're listening or whatever. Usually the listening will be optional. You'll decide whether you want to do it or not. This week, I'm requiring it because I want you to try it at the very least. And I think this first play is a good one to listen for. By now, the audio on Shakespeare is an enormous library in itself. There's I think, tens of thousands of recordings, and some of them are amazing. This one, Henry VI Part 1, stars David Tennant as Henry VI, and it's just an amazing performance of the play. There are many stage performances aren't as good as this one. So I'm asking you to do that. Before or after reading the play, your choice, read the matching chapter and here, oh, I'm not doing this, in Andrew Dixon's Globe Guide to Shakespeare. I was holding it up, but you can't see me. Again, I need to learn more about that. The Globe Guide to Shakespeare is a miracle book. It was written as a travel guide to Shakespeare. It remains, I recommend it to professors I know, it remains the best companion to Shakespeare there is. You'll catch that yourself. There are about 5 or 7 page chapters about each play. They give you pretty much everything you need to know. Again, experiment with it this week. Do you want to read all of the chapter before you start the play? After? Part, spread it out? You'll find out, but it's part of every week. And then do any supplementary listening, viewing, reading, and writing required for the week. There'll be an assignment sheet. For every week in the Google folder, there's a folder called the Weekly Assignment Kit. It's got everything for the week. It's got the assignment sheet. It's got any recordings. The audio for Henry VI is in there. It's got the short explanatory videos that I mean to be making all semester long and hoping to get better at them. Anything that you need to do for that week is in that folder. So you'll find that stuff there. There will also be plenty of extras. Videos that you're not, videos of the plays that you're not required to watch, but welcome to watch, audios of the plays, other stuff that will help you dig deeper if you want to dig deeper. Any questions about this? Any questions about this? Sometimes you'll be required to look at, sometimes I'll require a video. In other words, sometimes watching a film will be part of the assignment, okay? And so here now is the sample weekly assignment for this. Basically, I'm asking you to watch 3, can you see this? Sorry, any questions? Any questions? No, all right. I'm asking you to watch.
I wanted to say something.
Good, please.
I just wanted to let you know when you showed the book, we can see it.
Oh, that's right, because you can see me in the corner.
You have,
for some reason right now, I can't. I bet in all my experimenting,
there's my cat.
What?
And there's my cat.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so much for the visual. I really appreciate it. There's a few, okay, thank you. This is, tragically, I and my sons have worked, as I say, for weeks to practice. This is working totally different from any practice I've had. So, all right. So the assignment is introductory videos. I'm running behind. They'll be there on Sunday, but the folder is there. Check in the folder on Sunday. Read the play. You've got the paperback. And notice right before the play starts, there's family trees and a list of characters that will help you, like, you know, a scorecard of a scorecard at a baseball game. And then, of course, there's the Globe Guide chapter. And I'm asking you to listen to the play. That's the assignment sheet for next week. Here's an explanation of the past paper assignment due a week from now. If you're interested, have a look at it. It's all self-explanatory. Any questions about that? I don't want to get lost in it right now. Okay? All right. Okay, we're running a little long. I'm going to give you the promised exit. I'll tell you how I'm going to give you the promised exit. Not yet. I'm going to keep you for maybe another 10 minutes. For the moment, I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the last thing, which is to talk just a little bit about what comes next. And you may have noticed already that what comes next is a little odd. It's hard to make sense of it. If the last play that Shakespeare wrote in the series was Henry V, how is it that the earliest play he wrote was Henry VI? It sounds like Henry VI is later than Henry V. And in fact, he is later. Okay, he is later. He is Henry V's son. He's the son of that superhero. And the simple explanation, which you could probably easily guess, is that Shakespeare did not write these plays in chronological order. Instead, he made, and the shorthand for this, if it's still cultural consciousness, set me straight if it isn't, someone speak up, is that Shakespeare did it like Star Wars. And in fact, when George Lucas created Star Wars, just as when Francis Ford Coppola created the Godfather movies, they were thinking of the history plays. Shakespeare started in the middle of the story. And then when his 4 plays, and he took it the middle of the story and wrote to the end of the story. And when those plays snowballed in their success, he decided to go back and write the origin story, the story that explains how those first 4 plays of his came to happen, how that story came to happen. I have this all decked out in this somewhat obsessive chart. We don't need to study the chart in extreme detail here, but you can see it. The first 4 plays, you can look at the time things later, it'll only scramble you now. He wrote them when he was very young. He's in his middle and late 20s. They are set about 100 years before he wrote them and before his audience saw them. The first king he writes about is Henry VI, and Henry VI, who had a very long reign for reasons we'll talk about valedictorily, gets 3 plays assigned to him. Again, the first one is an experiment. Will this work or not? The second one is a follow through. The third one, by now, it's huge. And Richard III is his first super hit. These are the plays, these are the standard abbreviations. Richard III covers 3 kings with shorter reigns, culminating in the truly culminating reign of Richard III. That's the first half of our semester. We're doing the plays in Star Wars order. The second half of our semester is the origin story. He goes back 100 years and tells the story of how this came to be. What is the this? The this is the cosmic civil wars, as formative as our civil wars, called the Wars of the Roses. This first group is about the Wars of the Roses. This second group is about the origins of the Wars of the Roses. Well, basically, this course is a matter of filling it, sketching in things at the beginning. This is a sketch, and filling them in later as the thing goes on. If things seem sketchy at any time, 2 alternatives, I suggest you do them both. Relax, no, sorry. Ask a question if it's sketchy, okay? Ask a question, I'll be thrilled to answer it. Also, relax. We will be filling it in later on. Anything about this? Anything about this? All right. Last stop on the documentary.
Excuse me.
Sure, absolutely.
Maria got logged out. She's in the waiting room.
All right, thank you. Let me just see. Thanks again. I have to figure out. I see now how. All right, sorry. I do now see. Thanks, Maria. So sorry. So sorry. Let's write afterwards. Let's correspond afterwards. Thank you so much. Okay, last stop. Let's go back to what's called the syllabus. It ends. The syllabus ends on page 8 on what you're looking at with the beginning of Henry VI Part 1. Of course, you have this in your books, but I'm putting it up here now. This may be the first thing Shakespeare ever wrote. And again, I want to call your attention to his oddity. He begins his playwriting life, maybe, with a funeral. He begins with the funeral of the superhero, Henry V. That is to say, the guy that eventual last play is going to be about. But what could be a bigger downer, in effect, than the funeral of England's greatest king, who died in his early 30s, didn't even live to fulfill his complete monarchical promise? In other words, just as the chorus starts with a downer in the speech, the prologue, Shakespeare starts his whole career with a risk. Let me start low and see what I can do with that. There's even more reason to be low, because in history and in this play, Henry V, the greatest king England thought it had ever had, died when his firstborn son was 9 months old. So if you think about this election year, it's one of those unimaginable outcomes, okay? Even while Henry's family attends this funeral, their king is 9 months old, all right? Henry VI is 9 months old. I will tell you that he does not have a walk-on in these early scenes. We see him only later. Shakespeare couldn't get an infant talented enough to play Henry VI, okay? So what we see instead, and what we'll see throughout the play, is Henry VI's uncles, the child's uncles, fighting over power, because as the grown men near the throne, they have the fight and the power, all right? I'll just read a couple of opening lines to get to again make clear how odd Shakespeare's choice is. Dead March. An audience goes to see Shakespeare's first play, and what they hear is funeral music. We would hear da 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 da. Enter the funeral of King Henry V, attended on by his brothers, all right? And the first brother says, "Hung be the heavens with black, yield day to night." Okay, we've just entered the first history play. I'm only going to explain that line. Hung be the heavens with black. In other words, this is such a cosmic death that the actual heavens should be hung with black. But that cosmic imagining is also literally true. Above the stage, as you'll remember from the Globe Theater, there was a roof. And above the stage, there's a roof. Inside the roof, when the actors looked up, the sky was painted on the inside of the roof. So when the actors acting look up, when Juliet looks up from her balcony, she literally sees the stars. The actors called that the heavens. And in Shakespeare's theater, for this scene, it was undoubtedly that roof was hung with black crape. So he's making a cosmic metaphor about how God is weeping now, but also a literal theatrical truth. There's that black cloth up there above us. And the play, Shakespeare, as I say, from the very beginning is obsessed with theater. Whatever happens in the real world then is also happening now on the stage. You could take it from there, and that's what I'm asking you to do. Any questions about any of this? Any follow-up? Okay. Indescribable thanks for your patience. Oh, she's in the waiting, okay, right, sorry. Indescribable thanks for your patience. Here's the exit I'm gonna give you. I asked you to go to Blackboard thinking that I would be giving you the quiz now, but I'm overdue for the quiz now. I will make the quiz available now on Blackboard. If you'll go to Blackboard and go to your learning modules, to the course, and then open learning modules. 1 second. Let me try. Okay, yeah, let me try it. Do you see in learning modules, wait a second. Hold it. Yes. Do you see in learning modules something called a muse of fire? Anybody? No, well, no, you don't come. All right, here goes. I've just made it available. Do you see something called, oh, sorry. I thought this. I have to re-log in. It'll just take a second. Oh. 1 second. Okay. It'll take, again, I should have rehearsed for this. Sorry, I actually did, but okay. All right. Yeah, sorry, one second. It's going to take me a minute to record it. One second. Okay, I'm in now. Let me open it. And let me explain what will happen. I will make the quiz available now. My idea was that you would take it now in real time. As I've said, it's a 9-minute quiz, but I want to release you now, okay? So I'm going to make it visible. Tell me if it becomes visible. If you want to do it now, do it now. If you want to do it, if you want to wait, is it visible now? Can you see it? Yes? All right. You're welcome to take it now, and you're welcome to zoom out if you're too exhausted and take it anytime in the next couple of days. As I say, you're guaranteed an A. I'll linger for anyone wanting to take it. You just start it, you get 9 minutes, you get to the end, okay?
So the idea is just to take this quiz now or later, depending on
now
what we
or
want to
later,
do.
depending on your inclination. That's
Okay.
exactly.
Let's do it now.
I finished it.
Good, okay. I mean, you're welcome to leave. Usually there's a sort of after talk if you want it, but you don't have to stay for it tonight. So you're welcome to leave. In other words, about 7 minutes from now, we'll talk about it if there's any follow-up.
Okay, I think I'm going to leave, Professor, but thank you very much for class. See you next week. Bye.
Hey, Professor, I'm having a weird issue where I cannot find anything on the blackboard while using my desktop.
Okay. Are you in learning modules? Have you found the course?
I found the course, but like every time I click on it, it's just announcements and it's blank, which is weird because I can see it on the app on my iPad. I just can't access this exact like test because it won't do it in the app.
Then you probably you're late. Why don't we let it go for right now, and you and I will check it out later. Is that okay?
That sounds good.
All right.
I log on.
I
Thank
was
you,
gonna, oh,
Yeah.
I took the quiz, but I have to go super fast. It was awesome.
All right, sure. Good to see you. See you next week.
I took it as well. See ya.
Good, thanks.
I finished as well.
Good. I mean, by all means, go if you want to. I'm just going to ask for feedback from you and any follow-up with the questions, but go. But
Right. See you next week.
See you next week. Thank you.
When you're done, and if you'd like to, it's only going to be like 2 minutes. Raise your hand when you're done, just so I know. Thanks. Great. Again, let me ask for everybody to raise hands if you're done. All right, great. So thank you. Thank you so much. Let me just ask. First of all, does it disappear? What happens to it at the end? I have not taken one. Okay. So what happens to it when the time runs out?
You get a chance to see, I think you click OK, and then you get a chance to see your score.
All right. Okay. Got it. Okay. So that actually changes my usual procedure, which is to ask, are there any follow-up questions? Anything that you want to follow up on any of the questions? I wouldn't necessarily expect that. Any question that was puzzling or unnaturally troubling? No? Okay.
Well, I have a question. Sorry, I have a question that goes back to, I think, something Lulu asked earlier, which is this kind of an open book quiz? Because there was one question I just couldn't quite remember, so I looked at the.
Good for you. You know, my quizzes have never been open book, but today I was totally mindful that you could do that. I mean, that's, in other words, that it was physically possible to do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I tend to like. I mean, this is what I have to think about. I like closed book. As I say, it ends up improbably, tormenting as that may sound, it ends up between your reading it attentively and marking things and the question period. Closed book ends up not being much of an ordeal. All right, but closed book is also in some ways technically impossible here. Like many teachers, I wanted to find out if there's some legal way to turn off all of your Wi-Fi, but there's not, okay? And there shouldn't be, right? So that's my question in designing the quiz. When you're doing a timed quiz about a full play, rather than about a single speech that you're doing today, the difference between closed and open may be less of a big deal. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's my thought. So I'm going to continue asking for feedback. I'm going to try this again. Was there anything practically difficult about doing it? Is the interface clumsy or was it obvious? No, it was okay? Okay. Lee, your thumbs down actually allows me to ask a really risky survey question, and we'll end with that. Your response to this format of quiz in general, thumbs up or thumbs down? You all got an A, but thumbs up or thumbs down. I mean this seriously, this format of quiz. Think about it for a second and tell the truth. Yeah, okay. And you're sure? I mean, okay, all right. I'm going to take the hesitations very seriously, and I'm going to thank you beyond thanks. You'll be seeing me in some short videos this week. I'll see you here again next week. I am so grateful and so excited about doing the class with you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.